My name is Alexandra Climent, and I'm a woodworker. I was born in Queens and lived in the city for most of my life, and just moved up here about a year ago. When I was in college, I was working for a construction company. They did marine work around New York, so building bridges and docks and piers, things that were in the water. So they had this one type of wood in a lot of government contracts that was always, interesting to me. Like, what is this wood? It's always in all these contracts. Nobody really sells it. Long story short, I found out that it came from South America. And I saw an opportunity, like, oh, maybe I can go down and go to South America and find this wood, and the construction company will buy it from me. But what ended up happening was I went down to South America with that intention, and I saw this wood and I met the local people, and I just fell in love with how beautiful it was. So my intentions totally switched, and I had this crazy idea. I didn't even know it was an idea at the time, but it was kind of like, I need to find this wood without knocking down any trees because that doesn't make it as beautiful, right? I didn't want to be part of this, deforestation problem. But so I spent like the next 7 years, 7 years of my life just dedicated to finding this material and trying to bring it back to New York. When I had went down there, I met a bunch of local people, and I really had to rely on them to help me, to guide me to find these species of wood, to gather it, all of that. So working with different tribes deep in the jungle, pulling out wood in crazy ways, because this is some of the heaviest wood in the world. Like you can't even float it down the river like you normally can with other wood. So even just like the process of like once you do find the wood, like how do you get it from the middle of nowhere, out to a place where you can ship it and then bring it back to New York. And so that whole part of my life, I was still working a very boring, 9-to-5 type job, like working in a basement, just very kind of unhappy. But I had this other thing going on. And anytime that I could, like had vacation time or whatever, I'd go and spend it working on the wood, like working on trying to get the wood. And then once I got the wood here, I still couldn't afford to just quit my job. So anytime I had then, I would just use my vacation time and weekends and nights just to like start working on the wood. And another thing to note is that like I had zero woodworking experience. I never, ever knew. I never picked up a tool. Like I never knew how to do anything. So it was kind of challenge after challenge after challenge, just like going down there, finding this material, and then finally getting it to New York after so many years, and then not knowing how to work with it. And like the importation process of that, like that was a whole nother thing that I was doing it while I was working in the basement at this company, just like, trying to do like all this really intense paperwork and everything. So yeah, I mean, it's just been one thing after the other. It's definitely given me challenges. These are called wary eggs, and this is something that I created for people to kind of hold in their hand and roll it around and kind of maybe feel that energy of the rainforest, of the jungle. And that kind of stemmed from an idea of me always having a piece of wood in my hand, a piece of my own wood that I kind of just roll around. I spend so much time sanding these, so they're really, really smooth. So just something for people to feel, to hold, to have on their desk or their nightstand, and maybe help with anxiety. Anxiety is something that I've struggled with for a long time. So I don't know, I feel like it's a great tool to have with you. All the trees grow so beautifully in the jungle. You see these crazy, crazy shapes. So yeah, when you cut them open, it's like not only do you get the shape, but you get these crazy, crazy colors and patterns throughout the wood and the material. And then when you sand it, the colors come out even more. So it's just like a continuous process of surprises. The heartwood is the hardest part of the tree, and the sapwood kind of serves to protect it, just like, any tree. But it's interesting here because even the sapwood of this tree is more dense than any tree you would find in the United States. Thinking about what the tree's gone through is something that I think about every time I sand a cross section like this, because you get to see the age lines in the tree. My finishing process is so intense so that I can show those lines, right? I mean, you can see them now, but once I spend time really, really sanding this up to like the highest grit possible, like you could really, really look into the tree. I almost want people to be able to look through it, through my finishing process. Talking about intention in the rainforest, where I get this stuff from, like that's an inspiration in itself. I mean, this place that just kind of is breathing with life and nature, and then producing this wood, and even like being surrounded by nature and looking up at the trees and imagining that this material is what's inside. I hope that most people who purchase my pieces know a little bit of my story, and it can almost serve as a conversation piece to maybe talk about climate change or these issues that come up that we're dealing with in this world that, like, you know, we have to change and we have to be a part of. So I'm hoping that my pieces can speak to that and maybe further that conversation in a way. Also, what I've gotten involved in outside of just looking for wood in the jungle is also looking for seeds of trees that have disappeared. So I've been traveling down to Panama and going on these long excursions that often take very long because I have to go very, very deep into the rainforest to find these trees because they're just, you know, they've been cut. And my intention is and has been to take the seeds of these trees and bring them back to a place within Panama that I can plant them and they're protected. So that's kind of how I've been trying to give back. Since I first started, being a woman in this industry and woodworking has often felt lonely, you know. I've often walked into workshops and people don't understand that I'm the one actually making these pieces. They think that, you know, I have a whole team of people making them or it can't possibly be me. So I think that that's why I love speaking about my story so much, telling other people about it, is to inspire other women to do things that maybe they didn't think that they could do or is not like the standard path. I think that's really important to realize that we have the same abilities that men do. And that can be an extraordinary thing. I mean, it can feel really empowering as well. So I think it's my duty to kind of like share my experience and hopefully inspire other women to do so as well.